So recently, I spent some time in the hospital. About mid-December, I came down with a severe flu. And a couple days after Christmas, I started having chest pains. So I took myself into the hospital. I drove to Parkland Hospital in Dallas, Texas. Checked myself in. There was a waiting room full of people. I got there at like 1:30 in the morning and that waiting room was full. I sat down and thought for sure I was probably going to die right there in the waiting room. But fortunately, they saw me rather quickly. I probably only sat there for about 5 minutes. And they took me to a room and started having a look at me. They did a number of the EKG tests where they kind of measure the electrical pulses in my body. And after doing this a couple of times, they decided that there was some irregularities on the tests. They wanted to take a closer look at me and keep me overnight, it sounded like. At this point, they put IVs in both my arms. They gave me morphine, started taking blood samples, and eventually they wheeled me up to ICU. The actual ICU unit was full, so they took me to the burn unit. The burn unit was an experience, definitely. That was, here I am with just some mild chest pain, and I'm in a room where there's people being taken care of who are really seriously in a lot of pain. It was definitely a humbling experience for me. The nurses and doctors who work in this unit are extraordinary people for doing what they do. After the first day in intensive care, they were about to move me into general population and my chest pains came back. This is annoying. I was really done being in this room with all these cords strapped to me. But I got to spend another night in the ICU. Okay, well at this point they told me that I had a minor heart attack when I came in, and that they were still looking at things. They recommended doing a test where they go into my leg vein and take a look on the inside to see if there's any problems. Fortunately, my results came back very positive. I was told that my tubes were clean and strong. And so at this point they said, well, we changed our mind on the first analysis that you had a heart attack. What we actually believe you had is myocarditis is what they call it. And if I understand it correctly, it means that the muscle tissue around my heart and perhaps even the heart itself is inflamed, whatever that means. After that test, they decided to go ahead and move me into the general population. After that, the final test they did on me was an MRI the following day, and that was actually the most uncomfortable test that I had to endure. I was stuck in the magnetic tube for about an hour. I had to keep doing different breathing holds and let goes and breathe in, breathe out, hold. And then they'd have you hold your breath for like 10-15 seconds, and then you get a chance to catch your breath, but you'd only get like 5-6 seconds to catch your breath, and then they'd have you do it again. It was excruciating. I didn't feel too bad when I first got into the tube, but by the time I came out, I was so weak I could barely walk. The next day, they decided to release me finally. So when I was discharged about noon on December 31st. The nurse that discharged me kind of instructed me on that I needed to go and pick up my prescriptions down in the pharmacy, that I needed to set up an appointment to line up all my financial paperwork, and that I needed to make an appointment with the cardiologist. I went and checked in with the pharmacy. There was a person set up with a computer for registration. So I went up and I told this person who I was, and showed him my discharge paperwork. And the gentleman at the computer told me, your prescriptions aren't finished yet. The television here that has names on it, as soon as you see your name on that television, come up to the station, and at that point we'll give you a number. When your number flashes up on the screen, go to that booth and pick up your prescription. Okay, this is fairly straightforward. Now, the waiting room for this pharmacy is what you would expect a busy bus station terminal to look like. There was about 200 people in the room, and everyone's kind of talking quietly, and everyone's glancing up at this television. You know, people here and there going to the windows and picking up their prescriptions. So eventually my brothers show up to pick me up and take me home. I wait, and I wait, and I wait, and I wait. My name isn't showing up on the television. You know, and I consider myself to be an extremely patient person, right? So after about 3 hours of waiting, it was about 4:45 when I finally decide that I'm gonna go check and make sure that my name is actually in line. Now there's a lady behind the counter. She had a very heavy Cajun accent, and I had a hard time understanding her. And eventually what I got from her was, due to my financials being incompleted, they were putting a hold on my prescriptions. At this point, I'm starting to feel a little upset. My chest is starting to hurt again, and the last thing I want is to be wheeled up back into that ICU room. So I tell my brothers, I'm not waiting any longer. Let's go home. I'll call the financial people and we'll get this all straightened out. As soon as I get to the house, the first thing I do is I pick up the phone and I called one of the financial ladies. What she told me was the nurse who discharged me was supposed to give me a voucher that I was supposed to give to the registration at the pharmacy. The voucher was supposed to tell them that I'm being discharged, it is important that I have this medicine, and that my financials are being lined up to be taken care of. Well, the nurse who discharged me did not tell me about this. The registration counter did not tell me about this. I found this out well after the fact. So the next day is New Year's Day. It's the 1st. Everything is closed at this point, right? Like a federal holiday, right? So I wait until January 2nd. I drive myself back to the hospital to go and try and get the prescriptions. The financial room was a smaller version of the chaos that was the pharmacy. My wait time in the waiting room was about 1 hour. When they finally got around to seeing me, it didn't turn out very well. The information that I had brought in was considered inefficient to determine that I was who I was saying that I was. I was told that the utility bill with my address on it was not credible to consider me as a Dallas resident. The conversation progresses, and then it turns to Obamacare. And the lady tells me that I will not be considered eligible for the Parkland program until after I have signed up for the Affordable Health Care Act. I have no intention of signing up for Obamacare. I tell her that the pharmacy is holding medicine that doctors say I need for my heart. And they're not going to give it to me until this gets taken care of. The lady tells me, I'm sorry. It's real easy. You just need to go online, put in your personal information, and sign up. So they kept the drugs. I refused to sign up. It is now late March. I've now gone nearly 3 months without the medicine that the doctors told me that I should probably be taking. So, as you can see, I'm still alive. My heart is still working. However, my condition is not improving. I'm scheduled to see a cardiologist later this week. I will post an update to this video, hopefully with some good news. I appreciate you listening to the story of my Obamacare Ultimatum. I never thought that I would risk dying for standing up for my principles. But here I am. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to my video. If you would like to help contribute to me making more videos in the future, you can send me Bitcoin donations. I'll have my QR code posted below as well. If you would like to contribute directly to my medical expenses and me being able to fix whatever is wrong with my heart, I would really appreciate that as well. You can donate directly through Bitcoin as well at this QR code. The link will also be put down below. I wish you all good health and good luck.